there. Boom, I'm in there. All right, so then let me go find it here. All right, what's up, everyone? Happy Monday. Anna, happy Monday to you too.
You as well, Jake. Thanks for having me.
All right, so there's the echo. So I heard that. All right, I'm going to fix this, though. I'm turning into a amazing technology wizard. Hold on. I'll fix this, though. I think I can fix it, assuming I do this correctly. Let me go to Can Mic. I'm going to move you to speaker. Audio. Move to my... Okay, Anna, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can, but there's still some echo, though.
Yeah, you will hear a little bit of an echo, but hypothetically, and we'll find out. What's up, everybody on Zoom? What's up, everybody on LinkedIn? All right, we got people starting to roll in here. I think we should be good. So everyone, if you can just give us a thumbs up if you're on LinkedIn, let us know if the volume sounds good. Let us know if you can hear both Anna and myself. Let us know if that's cranking. If you're hearing any type of echo, let me know that as well. You know, we're always trying new stuff.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's happening just to me, but Jake, I've lost you.
All right, so Zoom is still working. It looks like LinkedIn Live might have froze. StreamYard might have froze. Shelby, can you verify if StreamYard's working? Jake, sounds good. Mackenzie says. John says no echo. All right, so I think we're good. We'll see at least. You're just you're just rolling. Anna, you just got to roll with it.
I know. I mean, I do these lives quite often as well myself. I've had all kinds of technical issues, so whatever it is, bring it on.
I love it. All right, John Blake says no echo. Catherine McConnell says hello, Anna.
Hi, Catherine.
Peyton says, it sounds like Jesus put your audio together. Peyton, that is quite the compliment. I appreciate that, man. You know, we're working on it. And I will just deal with a little bit of reverb, so it'll be good for us. So Anna, for those who don't know you necessarily, we met on a webinar, right? Like we met on a session. I can't remember what was it, like Powder Keg? Wasn't that the name of it? Powder Keg podcast, something like that. And so we both were on there talking about LinkedIn. Obviously, you've done a great job of kind of building your own personal brand on LinkedIn, and then now working with others. So maybe tell everyone a little bit about what you're up to. Maybe a little bit about your journey. How did you get involved on LinkedIn? What made you get involved? And then maybe just a little bit about what you're up to now, just to set the stage for everyone.
Sure. Well, what I do on a daily basis is help people be successful in their careers. So when I was getting started and I wanted to help people write their resumes and put their presentation together in front of employers to, get hired and seize those career opportunities that are in front of them, I was trying to figure out what would be the best way for me to reach that audience. Like, how can I communicate with them? How can I get my message across to people? And back then, LinkedIn was still a very well, I'm going to use the word boring. Sorry about that. But it used to be quite a boring place where
What year is this, Anna? What year is this roughly? Like 17, 18 or?
16, yeah.
16. Okay, yeah. No, LinkedIn was still just only jobs basically then.
Yeah, that's it. So nobody thought of it as a social media thing. Like it was just this website for job search and that's it. And then I started noticing people creating content on there. And I was like, whoa, what's up with that? Who are these people? And I kind of got really interested and curious. And I started looking at, their engagement levels and the fact that like LinkedIn was going through that transformation after Microsoft took over. And I started thinking maybe that is the best place because a lot of my audience, job seekers and people who are at all motivated to achieve stuff in their careers, they are on LinkedIn probably. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I just started connecting with people who were creating content on LinkedIn. Some of them were I don't like really to use the word competitors, but technically they are. I prefer peers or, industry friends or something.
You can call them competitors. That's all right. I mean, hey, there's only so much business to go around.
Well, yeah, but, the spirit, like what I really enjoy about LinkedIn or the community that I've created on LinkedIn is that we don't really look at it that way. We prefer to learn together, exchange ideas, and we know that there's enough business for all of us, because at the end of the day, everyone has their own personal touch, and it's not going to be a fit for everyone, so it's okay to target different people. But anyways, and then I was really kind of nervous to put myself out there at first. And I thought, well, who am I to start creating content on LinkedIn? Just a person who is trying to start up a business of helping job seekers. But I figured, well, if those people are doing it, why not me? So that's when I first hit publish on LinkedIn with my first post. And basically everything else that has happened, everything good that has happened to me since then in terms of my work life has happened thanks to that. So I've started building my brand. I've started learning about content creation, marketing, all of that stuff. And to be honest, out of all the social media platforms today, LinkedIn is my favorite. That's the one I use for my coaching business. That's the engine that drives it, basically. And that's the one that I help other people to leverage as well in their careers or their personal branding.
Love it. And so for all the people out there, I think the word personal brand can be very intimidating for people. I think the idea of I'm going to have a personal brand, I think for a lot of people is they're like, well, I'm not egotistical. I'm not, I feel like a lot of people, that's kind of the perception. For me, what I try to tell people is this is about making a name for yourself in your industry, which if you're in sales or marketing, or an executive, right? That's what you want to do, right? That's what everyone wants to do. And I think it's the word brand, that makes people, nervous, right? When in reality, what we're really talking about is we're talking about, look, you have a group of people that you want to be known in front of, right? Buyers or peers or whoever, then why wouldn't you want to establish a positive reputation with those people? And I feel like it's just that simple. That's kind of how I explain it. How do you help people to, or how do you answer that question, about around brand and, oh, I don't know, I don't want to have a personal brand. That's not me. I'm sure that's something you get frequently.
Oh yeah, definitely. I always say to people, when was the last time you had to convince anybody to do something? Whether it's to go to do groceries or get a promotion at work or get your team on board to do something with you or convince your family to travel to the destination that you wanted. So the last time you did that, you were selling. And if you were selling then, what stops you from selling ideas, selling your thoughts, selling your expertise, but to a much wider range of people? And the good news is that years ago, you had to actually call people up and do that one-on-one, whereas now you can hit a button and hundreds, if not thousands of people can see that and can engage with you, and you can have conversations with them, and they might be running through those exact same issues or challenges that you are today. So how fun is it to be able to talk to them remotely without having to contact them one-on-one or go anywhere physically even, and just have that, visibility and that outreach? I think that's a huge privilege that should not be taken for granted, and something that, of course, it's intimidating at first, but, that's the hardest part. Once you get started, you get so much into it and you realize all of the bonuses and advantages, and that is just overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. And do you feel like, is it that imposter syndrome, right? There's a lot of talk about the idea of imposter syndrome. Do you feel like that's the big hurdle? Is it people are just self-doubt, or what do you feel is the big hurdle for folks?
Oh yeah, that one is a big one for sure. And a lot of people, for a lot of us, every single day, we're just doing our jobs, whatever that is, right? And it feels normal. Today I just wrote 5 resumes, or I coached 5 people to write content. How hard can that be? But so it feels mundane to the person who is doing it, but it doesn't mean that there aren't other people out there who cannot learn from you. It doesn't matter whether you're just starting out, whatever it is that you're doing, or you're already a super pro with 20 years of experience. You always have something to share with other people, and they can learn from you, and you can also learn from them through your personal branding. So it's not just you teaching people and dropping some knowledge every single day, but it's also you getting knowledge from others and getting that kind of value. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah, and then that's such an important point, right, around like community, right? That you don't want, it's not just that you're like sitting there. Like how much time? So if you're an individual, right, and do me a favor in the chat in Zoom or on the comments, just let us know what your role is. You just like let us know, like, hey, what's up? Oh, Gallum, what's going on? Gallum's in here. Love her. She's awesome. Jeremy's a CEO. Great, Tarun. All right, cool. So just drop your job titles in here so we kind of know what you're getting into. How much time, like let's say if you're on the front lines, like you're on the front lines, how much time should you spend on LinkedIn? Or what's the highest value add activities that someone should be doing other than just posting?
The biggest value add is engaging with other people on LinkedIn. So to me, posting, that takes me 5 minutes of my day. Well, not to like without the time that I actually have to like work on to prepare, but at the end of the day, hitting post is not a big deal. The big deal is for me to actually communicate with people on the platform. So there is no value in just posting content if you're not engaging with the people who are talking about your content and also with other people's insights on LinkedIn. So I would say you could start with maybe, 30 minutes a day. I would say that is already something. Although in my case, I spend way more time, but basically I'm running a business thanks to LinkedIn. So that's a bit different. But if it was, let's say more of an average scenario, I would say 30 minutes to 1 hour would be excellent. Even if it's less than that, I think that's a great start as well.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. I think 30 minutes. And, the key is just setting up. There's a lot of different filters you can use on LinkedIn. So if you have like Sales Navigator, for example, like right on your homepage, there's a button, like it says it defaults to all alerts, but you can just switch that to lead shares. So you could really quickly go and just say like, hey, these are the people that I want to interact with. So I feel like there's ways to do it. And obviously what made you want to build a business around this? Like, what was it for you? Obviously you started to kind of feel this thing, and it took me till 2018 to kind of like figure this part out, or feel comfortable enough to post. What made you want to like make this like your calling, right? Or like your biz, like what was it about this that got you kind of hooked as a part of this?
I think it was the interaction. Again, this opportunity to interact with so many people from all over the world with just a click of a button. I cannot stop being fascinated by that. And to me, I love writing. So I do that every single day. I write for myself. I write for other people. So writing is part of my day regardless. So I might as well write something that is fun, that can benefit someone, add value to other people. And if that helps them to find me and hire me or learn from my content, great. And even if it doesn't, even if they just have fun reading my post for 5 minutes, still I put a smile on their face, and that's something.
I love that.
So there are like all kinds of benefits to it. And really what I'm discovering these days, as your visibility starts to grow, it's like you never know who is actually watching or reading you. So sometimes I get surprised by how many people refer other people to me or engage with my content, and I have no idea who those people are, but they follow me and they know me, and like it's a whole different level of communicating. And again, all you need to do is do that in front of your laptop. Like to me, that's just so unbelievably amazing.
I love that, and what you're hitting on is so on point because it's just text only post over indexes on LinkedIn too, right? So like you don't have to, if you're not comfortable in front of video, that's okay, right? You don't have to be, unlike other channels, right? Like Instagram or anything else where you have to have an image or a video or something, right? LinkedIn text only works really well. Now, what I would say is, to your point though, although video may not get as many views, and I hear a lot of people kind of like, well, my videos, well, that's okay, because videos are just a different way to communicate with people. Like it's like, to your point, it gives people a chance to get to know you.
Yeah. To me, video was a game-changing format. So it was actually when I switched from just text to video, when I started seeing some real tangible results, and it just skyrocketed from there. And in terms of, again, building that connection, people can never get the same feeling of who I am and what I do through text. So to me, mixing those formats up is really important. And these days I'm also like, I got really active on YouTube since then. So it's kind of been a journey, but yeah. And on video, that's what you mentioned too, is you get fewer views, but each of those views is worth so much more because the person actually took the time to hear you for even 10 to 30 seconds, whatever. And that's worth so much more than just scrolling through your post and thinking, oh yeah, that's a great piece of text, and moving on.
Yeah. All right. So we've got some questions rolling in, which is great. So Scott Molenkamp, Scott from LinkedIn, says, what other, and you kind of hinted at this, what other channels do you use other than social media? And even, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing on YouTube too? And that goes into, there's another question Gallum actually has about, or not, it wasn't Gallum, sorry, Jeremy has, around like keeping content fresh and evergreen. So maybe just talk a little bit about, one, are there any channels you use that are non-social media, like email, any of those types of channels? And then two, how are you using other social channels to either keep content fresh, diversify your audience, etc.?
So to be honest, I do use email, but other than that, it's all socials. That's how, I mean, obviously a big chunk of my business is referrals. So just people referring and word of mouth kind of thing. But other than that, it's email and socials. In terms of socials, my two big ones are LinkedIn and YouTube. I try to do some things on Instagram, but to be honest, I mean, there's just this many hours in a day, and I work for myself. So I don't yet have a big team to support me yet, though. But anyway, so hopefully one day I can be more active on Instagram as well, or at least more consistent with it. But my two favorite ones are LinkedIn and YouTube for sure.
All right. Why YouTube? By the way, Catherine McConnell says, love your YouTube videos.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
That.
I appreciate that.
So why YouTube? Out of these other channels, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people feel like, there's Twitter, there's, obviously Instagram. How did you land on YouTube? What was it that YouTube you felt like was going to be like the best, like second medium for you?
It was thanks to the fact that I was getting so much into video. So a lot of people started recognizing me not for my text content, but for my video. So I would go to like a big conference in my industry in the States. And then once I go there, people would come up to me and say, love your videos. I love your videos on LinkedIn. And I'm like, wait a minute. So it's working. Like people are actually liking that content, not to mention the clients that I'm landing because of that as well. But even in the industry. So I always enjoy video. Like to me, that's my favorite format of communicating. Even when I do Zoom calls, I know there are a lot of people who are like, can we please just stick to audio? I'm like, nope, let's actually look at one another and feel like we're talking. So I love that connection. And YouTube obviously is the go-to video platform. Plus, I mean, that content on YouTube is evergreen. So one of the things that I love about it is that you create that content once, which is a lot of work. So it's really work heavy in the beginning. That's where I'm at these days. So it's a lot of work, but that content will live forever. And it will live there, not just, like you won't get that short-term boost of engagement like Instagram, 24 hours, boom, done, moving on. On YouTube, it's there and it's only increasing over time. So as long as you understand how to optimize it for search results, and as long as you are on trend with your content, you're adding value, and obviously you're communicating with your audience in an engaging way, it's going to be there for a very long time, and your engagement will only start to grow. So I really like that. I like that longevity of content on YouTube.
All right. And Jeremy Ben Israel just subscribed to your YouTube channel. So
awesome.
Everyone, if you are not subscribed to Anna's, we've got about between LinkedIn and Zoom, we've got about 60, 70 people right now. So if you are not subscribed to Anna's YouTube, and maybe Shelby, we can drop it in here, make sure to subscribe to her YouTube. But no, that YouTube has been my second as well too. We just haven't been as active maybe as we can be, but it's definitely a focus because we do a decent amount. The video thing you brought up is so funny, because people come up and they're like, oh yeah, you do the videos on LinkedIn. It's like, you do like one or two a week, like maybe one a week, and you do all these text posts. But you're 100% right. But I think, look, if for some reason you don't like video, that's cool. Then maybe you think about Twitter, or you think about, a different Reddit or something. Like, again, like to your point, I feel like sometimes people feel like they just have to go there. And I think what you're saying is really smart. And I think it's good for people to hear, which is, there are only so many hours in the day. And if you only have time for LinkedIn, then just focus on LinkedIn. And then think about how you can, repurpose that content. And that's what Shelby on my team does a really good job of helping us with that. We take a video that we can use on, this one's going to be played better on Instagram, or this one's going to play better on LinkedIn because it's more emotional or whatever it is. So I think don't worry about boiling the ocean early on. Get consistent on one, and then we'll go worry about, other platforms.
Yeah, I love that point. I mean, I would have never moved on to YouTube right from the start. I mean, I had to first focus on something, and I picked LinkedIn. But obviously, one other thing that you need to think about is, okay, so let's say you like a certain platform. Maybe you're really into Instagram, but is your audience on Instagram? Yeah. Because, I mean, if you're posting stuff, but your audience is on LinkedIn and you're on Instagram, maybe, there's a disconnect in there. So to me, it's also thinking what is the best platform or best platforms, plural, to reach my audience. And then out of that, I can figure out where I want to focus more of my efforts and energy. And then once I build some consistent presence on one, then it's so much easier to move on to more rather than scatter across all of them and not do a really good job in any of them. So.
And then you can bring that audience with you to start too, right? Like you promote it on LinkedIn, and then you bring those people over to YouTube as well too. And we do a lot of that too. So this is an interesting one. Actually, this is from Gallon. She asked about LinkedIn inbox. So how do you manage your LinkedIn? Obviously, I'm sure you get a lot of DMs, a lot of questions. And then, so how do you manage your LinkedIn inbox?
Terribly, to be honest. I mean, I wish LinkedIn added some kind of a feature where you can organize that or tag it or something, because it's really annoying how you reply to one person and then you have a fresh conversation, it moves to the top, and then the old one, you tend to forget. So you always have to track that somehow outside of LinkedIn. So that's usually what I do. I have some kind of a tracking sheet, like an Excel spreadsheet or something, where I can just track that. But at the same time, it's still hard for me to organize my LinkedIn inbox. So as soon as I can, I try to move people, like those conversations, away over to email. Because otherwise it's a bit much. And, once you start growing your following, it's, the volumes of messages only keep increasing. So yeah, it's tricky. So the sooner I can get them over to email, the better.
Yeah, and so Scott had a follow-up that you started to hint at here, which is like a CRM. Do you use any type of CRM to manage these interactions, or how do you kind of manage this follow-up process or this engagement? Because I'm sure there's leads in there too, right? Like, and you don't want to lose contact with them. So do you have a CRM that you use to track?
Just my own homemade solution, nothing really sophisticated, and I'm working on stepping that up. So I'll probably look into some more user-friendly ways to do that. But yeah, like I said, sometimes there are just so many hours in a day. So for now, that home-built system is working. But I know that at some point I'll need to switch to a more robust solution. So if people have recommendations for that, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I mean, we use Salesforce once it becomes like an opportunity or like a meeting booked. So basically, that's what we do. We take a very similar strategy, which is like move the right people over to email, and then just have like a copy and paste for a lot of other folks, which is like the unfortunate part of it. And then
you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
That's exactly it. And and I like Gallum called out, she uses the voicemail function. I use that a ton. Like if if it's like a random Sunday and I'm like, oh shit, let me try to like get through all these, I like to use the voicemail, because then I can they hear me, it's personal. Then everyone's like, oh, that's so cool. Like you sent me a voicemail. So I feel like the voicemail feature is like really strong. If you all don't know what I'm talking about, on LinkedIn mobile, if you're a first degree connection, there's a little microphone. You can just click and hold it, and I can be like, hey, what's up, Shannon? Hope you're doing great, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I just find it's like a really good way to.
For up to 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah, people really like, I mean, and like to your point though, it's about creating audience, right? Like, and that helps people feel more tied to you, unless, Scott heard me cuss, and he dropped a haha shit in here. That's fine. Yeah, there's no rules. There's no rules. I've never been censored for dropping a F-bomb or anything. So we'll see. I don't want to push the envelope too much, though. LinkedIn is a little soft with this type of stuff. Okay, next question we have up here. Let's see. We talked about the CRM. Okay, so we've got someone. This is an interesting one. So I'm from fashion retail and confused about what content to post. Secondarily confused how to engage as I'm new to this industry. So for me, how do you think about that, right? So again, you talked about that, your target audience, right? And I think that this is a really good question for a lot of you to hear, or answer for y'all, a lot of you to hear. You got to go where the eyeballs are, right? If your audience isn't active on LinkedIn, Dina does point out sending voicemail is bad for people who are hard of hearing or deaf. So make sure you're sensitive. Sometimes I'll leave a voicemail and then I'll like shoot a note after. But that's a good call out. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make sure I send a note over. But how do you go about that? Because not everyone should be active on LinkedIn. If your audience for whatever reason is not super active, go to Instagram, go to TikTok, whatever it is for you, right? But how do you go about talking to someone who says, hey, I want to get active on LinkedIn. I'm new to an industry even. Maybe that's the question to tackle. If you're new to an industry or you're selling into something like retail or fashion, how would you advise someone like that? If they're your clients.
So number one is, before you think about creating your own content, I would start with looking for content of other people and start engaging with it. It just gives you that natural,
smart,
start or natural launch on LinkedIn before you're ready to post something of your own, which you will be in no time. But basically, first, what I would do is I would look for thought leaders in your industry. So look for other people who talk about fashion. And if they are active on LinkedIn, that's who you need to connect with. And that's who you need to be engaging with on a consistent basis. So one thing that a lot of people miss is when you want to connect with someone you don't know, you can go onto their profile, scroll down to the activity tab, and you will see every single step that person has taken on LinkedIn in the recent while. So you'll see what they like, you see where they comment, you'll see everything. So why not engage where those people engage? And why not hang out where they hang out? So if they follow 10 thought leaders who talk about, let's say, fashion for the sake of example on LinkedIn, well, that's where you need to be as well. So you need to start with, and there's always this barrier where people are thinking, yeah, I can just lurk in the back. So I'm just reading through that stuff and it feels like I'm part of it. Unless you're actually commenting and becoming part of that conversation, you're not part of it to everyone else. It's just in your head, you are part of it, but no one else is seeing what you have to say. So, pushing through that challenge and just starting to comment, which is really easy. You just need a couple of minutes to write something meaningful and add value to the conversation, and that's it. The other thing you could do is you can add recruiters in your industry, because again, if the recruiter is hiring for your industry, chances are they are connected with hiring managers, other people in that space. So you can simply look at, again, who are they engaging with and follow those people. So I feel like with every person in your industry, if you look at who they engage with, you'll get like 10 more leads of who you would probably also want to engage with as well. So that's how you already like triple or quadruple your network right off the bat.
That's great.
And then once you kind of feel like, okay, I'm already consistent, I'm doing this on a daily basis, and you'll already get some visibility just from commenting, by the way. So it's not just, I need to post my own stuff to get visibility. Not really. You can be commenting and engaging and still drive profile traffic to yourself, create leads, start conversations, and grow your network. But once you're ready to move to that next step, I would say sit down and just, in very simple terms, write a list of 10 topics that you know. Just doesn't matter if you're an expert or you just know something in it. So I'm not an expert in wellness, but I might know something about healthy eating habits. Or I might know something about writing a good resume, not because I'm a resume writer, but because I hire people. So I look at their resumes 100 times a day, right? So you write up that list of 5 or let's say 10, 10 topics that you know about. And then you just start with thinking, okay, what is the simplest lesson I've learned on this topic within the last month or two? And then that's your first, let's say, topic for a first post you can create. And I feel like in the beginning, when you're just building up that process, right? It's important to understand that you still don't have enough visibility or enough exposure to be only posting about the things that you are passionate about. Sometimes you need to be posting about the things that matter to your audience. So maybe I wouldn't like to post like 10 times a day about resumes, but if that's what my audience needs and wants to hear, maybe that's what I should be talking about. And then once you get some of that initial traction and there are people who become your audience, your following, who look forward to your content, that's where you get the reward of actually being able to talk about other topics that matter to you. So that's when people will actually care about, hey, what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on that? But in the beginning, it's just about giving as much value as you can on the topics that your audience likes and consumes.
I think this is so great. We're getting a lot of people commenting about this, about just like that this idea of liking and commenting. I think it's such an easy way to get started, right?
Yeah.
Is like, is if you are struggling or you're feeling it a little bit on like posting, just getting a feel for what's already happening in your space and, just interacting there. I think that's such an easy way to like get the ball rolling for a lot of people. There's a lot of people, talking about taking the time. Great advice. Catherine says she's only posted 3 times, but met a ton of people from comments. So maybe after this, she'll post more. All right. So a couple questions we've got here. Do you like additional channels to share your content? Like there's a little bit of, let's see, Lisa talked about LinkedIn groups. Glenn brought up LinkedIn groups. Do you do anything with LinkedIn groups?
Not so much, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've built my own kind of group of people that I engage with on a daily basis, just because I really love what they have to say, and it resonates with me every single time, and I love the quality of their content. And sometimes I reach out to them for, questions, some like a go-to community where I can talk about certain things and, also exchange ideas and get some knowledge or share also what I know with them. To me, that's a lot more productive than some of the groups, but that's just limited to my industry. But I can imagine that potentially in other industries, the groups could be like the LinkedIn groups could be a lot more active and resourceful. So I wouldn't say that that's, not a resource. So for sure, I would say it's worth exploring, and then you can decide for yourself, and you can always build your own group as well. So there's nothing wrong with starting up your own little go-to community, and then you can grow it, or you can add the people that can be truly your peers. I mean, people that you can really relate to, and that way you can be a little bit more selective as opposed to including like everyone. So I would say that depends on the industry as well.
Yeah, I what I've consistently found is that there might be a lot of people that are members, but the interaction's like a ghost town. It's like no comments, no likes. It's just people pushing it out. So I'm not a huge fan of LinkedIn groups. I guarantee there's some that are active. I like your idea of just like curating a smaller group of people. Obviously, then you've got to try to manage that. And that can be also not as, how do you manage your small group of like the people? Is it just like all in your head of like, I know it's like these 15 people. Is it on like a DM thread or?
Yeah, we create DM threads, and I have a group of career coaches who do what I do. I also have a group of video creators, so people who I can talk to specifically about video and YouTube and all of that. And I just keep those threads together, and I feel like at some point when other members of the thread are seeing, wow, this is awesome. I love these conversations. I love how much value we share. Let's bring on another person. So it's like maybe I was the one who started it, but at the end of the day, it's everyone else who's also then ends up managing it or helping us to manage it, because you see how much value everybody gets out of it.
I'm making a note. I think I'm going to try this. Thread of people, because what I've done, I mean, like, look, I've been asked to join a bunch of different like engagement pods, right? Which are like email threads where people just post their posts and then they get a bunch of people to go like it. LinkedIn has, and a part of their algorithm is called the golden hour. This is for everybody, that how your post performs in the first hour has a dramatic impact on what it will end up doing. And so when you get these engagement pods, which is basically a group of people on a DM thread that copy and paste their post into the thread, then the other people go in and go, great post, Anna, great post. And I've just avoided it, but I like your idea that you're making the thread actually value add versus it being a just go like my post, and that's that's what I've hated. And because you can see it, I see it immediately when I'm like, engagement pod. Yeah, you've got 300 likes, but dude, the first 50 comments are all like fake. you know?
Yeah.
And so like, it's real easy to spot if you, now that you know, like, well, if you know what you're looking for. Okay. So we've got the other question here was around, posting. Do you change the content, like how you do your video, or is it the same video for LinkedIn and YouTube? Like basically, if somebody asks, like, how much do you adjust your content, you know, for each medium?
So at this point, most of my videos are for YouTube. So these days I would do like either a short trailer that I only I post on LinkedIn, and then I redirect people onto YouTube, or I'll just announce that there's a YouTube video coming out with this and this, and you'll learn this, and I'll just direct people onto YouTube right away. But what I used to do is I used to do much shorter videos. So definitely LinkedIn is not the place for videos longer than 5 minutes. I would say even 3 minutes would be the optimal one, or even less than that. But anything longer than that, that's YouTube material. Because on YouTube, it's the other way around. Anything less than 3 minutes is like, excuse me, like, is that all? So in that way, I would say, yeah, that's one way how you can look at it. If you have a longer piece of content that you want to create, like a longer video, you can take snippets of it, make a shorter one, and post it onto LinkedIn. Or you just, post the first part and you say, hey, watch the rest on YouTube.
Yeah. We've got, this is an interesting one, very tactical. Heather, what's up, Heather? Heather joins all of our live sessions and asks really good questions. She asked about accepting connection requests from people, right? Do you have any, she says, a pet peeve is when people send the canned connection request without personalizing it or telling me. I prejudge them as lazy and unprofessional. Whenever you're when you're advising someone, and I'll give my take too, but what are your thoughts on the personalized connection request?
Yeah, that's a great question, Heather. I would say, I cannot really judge people who do not attach a note with their request, because I get so many of those every single day. And if I decline all of them, that will be kind of, unproductive, I would say. But at the same time, I always accept a request with a meaningful note attached to it. My biggest pet peeve here is people who are writing. I mean, they take the time to attach a note, and I appreciate that, but they are writing, I'm trying to grow my network by including influencers. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. So you need me for numbers, and I get that. I mean, we all get that. But I wish there was another reason why you wanted to connect, even if it was because you liked my post this morning and you found it valuable.
Just tell me it.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you're reaching out to people, they want to know why you are approaching them. Like, if you have a question, why is this person the best one to address your question? There needs to be some context. And I think it's just the minimum thing you can do, which literally takes 2 minutes of your time, is to look at their profile and see, is there something that stands out? If there's something that is really interesting that I can mention and use that as a way to relate to that person and say, hey, let's connect. I think that's a lot more productive than saying, I'm growing my network here and I need you with your 40,000 followers because I need to grow fast. I mean, that's great, but not everybody will appreciate that kind of approach.
No, I don't think they will. I think most people will not appreciate
it. Yeah, that was a very soft way of me saying that. That's not the right way to do that.
Yeah, to me, it's like either send no note or go super personalized. If you're trying to connect with people, either send no note or hyper personalized. Like to your point, spend the 1 minute, like Heather said, like to look like you give a shit, to say like, hey, I saw your post this morning and it was cool. Like literally, that is good enough. For 99% of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you caption all your videos? Do all your videos, you do captions or no?
For LinkedIn, yes. For YouTube, no. Although now I realize that I should be captioning them manually, because actually YouTube does caption them automatically these days. So for now, I'm doing that, but I'm hoping to also do it manually. But for LinkedIn, I always include captions. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though. I'll tell you, it's kind of a mix what we've seen from results. So like what we'll do is, obviously because of COVID, I'm not like speaking and, we're doing things like this or, like we did that webinar together. And so we've been just ripping a lot of like Zoom videos of like different conversations, et cetera, and then captioning them. But what we've seen is it's sometimes just me talking about a topic for a couple of minutes with no captions. Some of those have performed actually slightly better, just for the simple fact, I think also it's more authentic, right? Like if it's like, I think that's my like hypothesis about it. I'm not 100% sure, is like, if you just see somebody put out a video, you know that they're putting out like a authentic video, right? As opposed to, if it's captioned, they're like, they know, what do you call it? Like, that someone is like putting in the work to do it. And I think we as people don't like it. Like if like, we kind of like this like feeling that it's all organic, whether it's produced or not. Yes. Lisa. Yes, Lisa, I've heard of funnel marketing. What I'm trying to understand is how you're asking about using funnels in the video. So if you can tell me how you're using, like, then I can ask Anna the question. So, all right. So a couple more questions here. Network is so much more important. I've seen somebody with 25,000 followers, but they post and hardly get any engagement, right? And I think the key is, what do you tell, like, what are some of your top tips to getting engagement? Like whenever you think about getting engagement, or someone asks you that question, whether it's on YouTube or LinkedIn, what do you do that you feel like separates you? We talked about going more video, but are there techniques or things that you use to create more engaging content?
For sure. Well, first of all, I'd say that to me, when I call a post successful, I mean that when there is more value in the comment thread compared to the original post that I did. I think that is when I can call my post successful. So I would always try to ask my audience a question in a post, because again, if I want people to comment and I just say, hey, comment below, and they're like, well, what do you want me to say, right? Not everybody always has something to say as a comment. So if you attach a question that is easy for them to reply to, that definitely makes the job easier. So let's say if I talked about doing video or how to do video, I would say, what's your number one tip for doing videos? Or if you've done a video before, what was it about? So there's a clear question that seems very straightforward and simple to answer, and that encourages people to start commenting below. Also, when you're writing a post, I would say a strong opener is definitely key, especially on LinkedIn. I mean, these days they're kind of experimenting with the layouts. I don't know if you noticed that, but it used to be like they only show the first 3 lines and then you have to click on more to see the full one. But now sometimes they actually do show the full one right off the bat. And I don't know where that comes from, but still figuring that stuff out. So anyways, even with the older layouts, if your first couple lines are not strong enough, they do not encourage me to stop scrolling through all of the other stuff that I see in the newsfeed, I'm way less likely to engage, obviously. So I always try to make that opener, hit an emotion, like you hit a pain that generates an emotional response. And then if at the end you also close it with a question, then it's way easier for people to engage.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I think the question one for a lot of people, don't worry if you don't get a lot of engagement early on. Like you won't.
Oh, yeah.
You probably will not get a ton. But again, I'm a big fan of adding value. Then you can kind of pose a question to, like you said, get the conversation going. Jonathan Bowden says, awesome discussion, guys, with a thumbs up. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome. And there's one other thing. If people who are concerned that they're not getting enough engagement when they're starting out, I would say you wouldn't get enough engagement unless you give enough engagement. So you need to also be that super proactive user who engages with others before you expect anyone else to engage with you. So, instead of thinking, how can I get more? Like we're always, let me get this. How do I get this? Yeah. What about you give some first, and then maybe that'll come back to you as engagement from other people who could also come to you from that other thread where you engaged yourself. So yeah, I love that. And I think that's such, what I really liked about something that I think you've been kind of hitting on a consistent basis here is this idea of getting involved and getting active, right? And commenting and interacting with people. For me, every post, for me, it's just a data point. It's like, did really well, data point. Did really bad, data point. Did well, data point. It's like the highs aren't too highs. Ali Ray, who helps with my social, she gets really pissed at me. It's not pissed. She's just she gets so excited, and I'm just like, cool. That did well.
great, like we learned something, or like that didn't do so well, great, we learned something. And I think she wants me to get like more excited, but it's like, if you just always are, it's data point, just data point, data point, data point, data point.
So I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people think that creating content is this kind of like you're inspirational and creative every single day. Really, at some point, it's also routine. So there shouldn't be any illusions there that creating content is always such a pleasure and such a delight that you're like, oh my God, I want to keep creating content all day long. There will be a point when it's like routine and you have to just stick with it. And sometimes you hate it and sometimes you love it. But at the end of the day, you're doing it. And that's what matters. All
right. I understand what Lisa's getting at now. Because when she just said, what about funnels? It was a little bit. She's basically wanting to know, do you use your videos as lead magnets, right? Basically, so do you have calls to action or additional downloads or additional details where you're trying to drive to like some type of lead conversion, whether it's they're giving their email, they're setting up time with you. How do you think about using your social content to drive to actual like, and not organic leads, but like this more like traditional marketing funnel type leads?
So personally, I haven't used a lot of downloads under my own videos, but I always do include a call to action. So I tell people that if what I've been talking about in this video seems complicated, you need help and support, reach out. And there's my contact information in the description below. And basically, my videos actually, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to see that my videos convert directly. So I don't need, I mean, obviously, if I probably built like a full-on proper funnel, I'd probably get more engagement around it. But even without it, there are clients who come to me just after watching my videos. Not always just one video. Maybe it's more of a cumulative thing, but they come to me and they say, I've watched your videos. Now I want to work with you. So
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. And I think that, for Lisa and for a lot of marketers out there, I feel like marketers really struggle with this idea. They struggle with the idea of like, but if there's no link to whatever, I can't track the one-to-one conversion. And the key thing to understand is, look, when you put a link in a LinkedIn post or you share, you are destroying that post reach, destroying like the amount of people that are going to see it. And also like, to you talked a lot about giving. Every link you post is an ask, right? It's like so if you're only as a brand, you're only posting, look at my blog, download this thing. That's why you're not getting any engagement. Every post is an ask. It's not just give. It's not free. And in your mind, that might seem counterintuitive. You might be, Jake, but I'm sharing details on my blog. Like you're not. You're trying to drive traffic to your website, and you're not giving me anything, as a part of the blog.
Yeah, and these days, everybody knows when there's a call to action. Oh, there's a pitch coming. So it's not, and like that's maybe one of the good things of that I'm not a professional marketer, that I've only kind of, learned all this as I go, is because I don't approach it this way. I approach it as if I were the customer or the client, would I want to see that pitch? That's right. And I know that I wouldn't. So I think that's why a lot of people actually appreciate about my content is that I do not pitch that much. And even if I do like more of a sales oriented post, I like, that's like 1 out of maybe 5 or however many. So it's not all of my posts are selling, but that's the beauty of that kind of marketing, that you're not actually pushing anybody. And in the days where everyone else is pushing, when you're not, it's suddenly like a breath of fresh air.
It's so easy to stand out. It's like, but again, you hit it on the head. Marketers have to start to care about brand and the importance of building real community and real audience and how that pays off over time. And I think so many marketers are so short-sighted because they got all these basically what I saw is like people used to care about brand. Then we got all these tools where we could track everything. Then everything became about MQLs, SQLs, etc. And we stopped understanding the value of brand. So, all right. So last set of questions. So Jack Finney asks, how often do you post? How much content do you post across your different channels?
So on LinkedIn, I post anywhere between 3 to 5 times a week. On YouTube, I do 1 video a week. I want to do 2 videos a week, but I'm kind of I need to put my system in place to be able to do that. But for now, it's 1 video a week. Yeah.
1 video a week. How long is that video? The long form?
Around 10 minutes, a little less, a little more, plus minus 10.
10 minutes. Okay. So 10 minutes. And then you're doing 3 to 5 LinkedIn posts. Is that all text posts, or is that also including maybe like a tease for like some of the video too?
Yeah, it could be a tease for the video. It could be just text. Yeah, but at the same time, I spend way more time on LinkedIn engaging with other people's content than posting my own. So that's also something to consider.
Yeah, it really is. You know, my teams. Yeah. It's something I've thought a lot about. But again, engagement. To your point, it shows that you're putting in the work. It shows that you're active. You're not just again asking. You're also out there giving. And I think that that's an important, component there. For us, we post usually 2 times a day on LinkedIn. We'll post in the morning and the afternoon. And then we, right now we aren't creating any specific content just for YouTube. We are creating specific content for Instagram. But I feel like YouTube, we've been talking about it for a long, long time. Have you ever thought about doing like a daily show? Or have you thought like ever doing like a vlog, like a daily vlog on YouTube?
I thought about it, but to be honest, I'm still starting my YouTube channel. So in the beginning, I feel like it's the same mechanism as with LinkedIn. Before people start caring about my daily vlog, so the way I lead my life or do things, first I need to give them enough value to be able to do that. So vlogs tend to be, obviously they're really popular on YouTube, but they tend to be a lot more challenging to grow faster. So I would say a lot of people first build that critical mass of following by having that very specific value add content. So when you're like, how to do this, or 5 tips to do this. And then when you build that following of people who are like, I love what you're saying. I love your personality. I love your delivery. I love all of it. Then you're like, hey, they actually want to know what my life looks like or what I do on a daily basis. Then I think that transition to a vlog is a lot easier. But some people are successful building their vlogs from scratch, and I admire that. But to me, I prefer to first grow with the value content and then move on to like other vlog type things. But yeah, and at some point, I would be definitely happy to consider that.
Yeah, me too. I'm definitely, we've been talking about it for a while. Cause again, I enjoy video. Like I enjoyed this, and I think that it's just not a lot of people do, it's not as many people enjoy this as opposed to just like, typing some text-based posts, which can be easy. So Anna, so again, we've dropped Anna's links for YouTube. So as she said, she's putting in the work there. Go over, show her some love, make sure to subscribe to her channel. Let's try to get that up there. We'll try to get her to a few thousand subscribers. I don't know if we'll do that today, but we'll work on it. Make sure to follow her on LinkedIn. She puts out, what I really like about your content is you've always had such a positive vibe. Like, I feel like you're one of the people that I feel like is always putting out like good energy. Like it kind of comes across in your content as well too. Like, as opposed to, don't do this, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're always putting out the positive. So make sure to follow Anna on LinkedIn, follow her on YouTube for sure. Anything you want to leave people with as we wrap up here?
For anyone out there who is looking to get started with, they're building their brand on LinkedIn or any other social media, I can tell you one thing: get started. Like whatever it is, just get to work. And if I can do it, if so many other people can do it, so can you. And honestly, obviously, as you go, there will be a lot other challenges and things to figure out, and you'll run into problems and all of that, but that'll come later. But once you get started, that's the hardest part, honestly.
That's right. Just get started. Like he's just maybe 1 post a week, 2 posts a week. Yeah. Or what I love about your advice today is the just get started commenting. Maybe you do that. Yeah. So I'm going to comment for 2 weeks, and then that's going to be my go-to. So Anna, thank you. This is a lot of fun. Again, like I love your energy. I think you bring a lot of really positive vibes both to LinkedIn and what you're doing on YouTube. I'm going to go check that out too. And then everyone, tomorrow I'm doing an AMA with the team at Outreach. So we're going to talk all things. If you want to take this LinkedIn stuff we've talked about and then think about how to actually put it into sequences for sales, I'm going to give you all the plays that we're running. So if you're like, hey, Jake, how do I actually in a systematic way integrate LinkedIn into this? That is what we're going to do tomorrow at, what time is it at? Hold on, I'll tell you. And then I think Shelby's going to drop the link in there if you want to sign up. So it is at 12 Central, 1 Eastern. So And Anna, you should check it out too.
Actually, yeah, I love that. I'll join for sure.
All right, well, make sure to join. Like I said, we're going to talk about, because a lot of people, they struggle with this. Like their sales teams are all using LinkedIn, but they don't know what they're like all over the place. It's like they're doing a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it's like, there's actually ways you can build in like run list, connects, a connect on call. Like there's ways that you can build this stuff into your sequences. So,
I'm so joining tomorrow.
all right, join tomorrow, share with your audience. I appreciate all of you. Thank you again, Anna. This is a lot of fun. I'm glad we had a chance to
thank you for having me, Jake. It was awesome. Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.